Good afternoon, teacher. I am Melissa Arias, and right now I'm going to talk about the half-bridge converter. The half-bridge converter is a type of DC to DC converter. As part of its characteristics is that it can supply an output voltage either higher or lower than the input voltage, which is generally what a DC to DC converter does. It can also provide electrical isolation via a transformer, which is the element that we can see over here. It is more complex than a flyback or forward converter, and it can yield higher or output power comparing it to the flyback or forward converter, which is potentially up to 500 watts. It also uses parts that are smaller and even less expensive. That is why this could result a better application than a flyback or forward converter because of its advantages, but also it depends on the application. It is generally made of 3 capacitors, as you can see over here, 2 MOSFETs, a transformer, 2 diodes, an inductor, and a capacitor. Here, this part over here is the input voltage, and this part over here could be the output voltage. So, its topology is made up of 2 principal parts, the primary side and the secondary side. The primary sides use capacitors that produce a constant midpoint voltage, which are the capacitors over here. It has 2 switching elements, which are the MOSFETs that are powered by a PWM control. These 2 elements alternate back and forth, switching the voltage to 0.5 input voltage across the primary winding. This side experiences a positive and negative voltage swing. Now, talking about the secondary side, it operates at twice the frequency of the basic switching frequency. It has an inductor and a capacitor, these 2 elements over here, that are much smaller than the forward converter. And it's what I was talking about before, so it can save cost and space comparing to the other type of converter. They also completely use the secondary winding and the core flux. Now, talking about its applications, it is used for high-density applications, such as telecom and data communication isolated power supplies, also to server systems, datacoms, DSPs, ACISCs, and FPGAs. Also, it is commonly used in industrial power supplies and factory automation. Finally, another of its mostly known applications is the test and measurement equipment. Now, to talk about an application in specific, I am going to talk about the server systems. This half-bridge converter is used in server systems, which, to know a bit about them, is they are computers or systems that provide services, program, resources, or data to other computers. These computers are considered the clients. The servers are considered computers that share resources with client machines. But also these devices can be servers or clients at the same time. Here you can see how a server could work. It means that it works through the internet. Here you can see the devices that it can provide this type of characteristics, services, programs, data to these kind of devices. Physically, they can look like this picture over here. Now, as there are several types of server systems, one of them could be a virtual system, but right now I'm going to talk about physical server systems. These physical server systems, as you can see over here, there are different kinds of them, but because they are electrical devices, they need power supplies. And the server system power supplies are generally made up of half-bridge converters. This scheme over here describes how a DC to DC converter works. In this phase, the 12 VDC voltage is already made up, it's like the part that is after of an AC to DC converter. Now this DC to DC converter is made up of a multi-phase, an EFUs, amplifiers and operators, power MOSFETs, TVS protection, and DC to DC point of load. As an output, there is a high current digital ACIAs and other system loads. Talking about the high current, it also has to do a lot with the high power that I was talking at the beginning, that it can be up to 500 watts. This DC to DC converter server power supplies offer a reliable and efficient front-end power source for enterprise servers and network computers. These kind of power supplies are used a lot in servers, and they can have two or more power supplies. Power supplies is also known as PSU, and every PSU can run the server on its own if the other one fails. That is why it is used two or more power supplies, and this power supplies is made up of a DC to DC converter, which is a great example of a half-bridge converter. Thank you very much. These are the references that I used to make this presentation. Thank you very much.